Up, guys? We are here for the week 9 edition of the Fantasy Football Rush Hour podcast. Here with Christian and Elliott. Uh, Austin couldn't be here today. He's out of town. Elliott and I were out of town earlier today. Went to the
Mhm.
Cowboys Falcons game. Tale of two perceptions. I always love it when the Cowboys lose just because I don't really like Jerry Jones. Elliott's a big Cowboys fan. So we're live right now. It's coming up to the end of this Colts Vikings game. So if you see us react, that's why. But I guess if you want to start, Elliott, with the big elephant in the room, Cowboys, Falcons.
Mhm.
If CD Lamb is injured and misses the next game, who on Dallas would you play out of anybody, offense, DST, besides Brandon Aubrey?
I think Turpin and Tolbert are obviously the next men up. Now, Turpin is on returns, and he actually got a decent amount of them today. Like he did pretty well with them. So he's obviously, again, assuming you go with somebody on the Cowboys to replace him, assuming he's somebody that you definitely want to look at. Um, Tolbert, I think, is a little tougher because I just don't know how much of a target hawk you would actually be. But I think in the event that CD goes down, has to be out for an extended period of time. Based on the way the game went today and based on the season, I would think Ferguson is probably the more likely replacement target wise. But I would say Ferguson and then Turpin and then Tolbert. Running backs, our running game is just not that good. It's hard to kind of really put trust in either one of them. So that's kind of where I would say. I mean, I think from a fantasy perspective, I'm not sure that Dak is really like QB1 level, at least not consistently QB1. I think he's had too many games, unless it's garbage time. He just had too many games. Our offense is just not good right now. The offensive line's not that great. Yeah, Dak is very run game dependent. He's not a put on his shoulders Josh Allen kind of QB. And that's my takes from the game. So it's my first NFL game ever. So it's good experience to say I got to go to one. So I'm happy and blessed just to say I got to go to a game. Obviously you prefer a game where you see your team win, but like it was still fun.
Yeah. I think if CD misses a game, besides Brandon Aubrey, maybe Rico Dowdle, you could play him. But
Mhm.
other than that, I don't want anybody from Dallas. I mean, if it's a tight end mandatory league, I wouldn't mind Jake Ferguson. But I just seeing them in person, and I told
Mhm.
this to Elliott. Dallas looks worse when you see them in person, like even versus on TV. You
Mhm.
see the flaws. You can see the angle we had was like behind the quarterback or like behind the safety, and you can just see how either A, nobody was open, Dak was missing people, and the plays where they doubled CeeDee Lamb, like nobody else was really creating separation. Um, I don't know if that's a coaching thing, if it's a talent thing, but Dallas looks worse in person. And I don't know if it's time for a fire sale. Obviously, they're probably not going to trade CD, maybe not even Dak, but maybe Micah. See what you can get from Micah. Maybe if he gets traded, his injury is suddenly healed. You know how that goes. But just don't trade him to Philly. But I don't know. That's my take on the Cowboys. As far as the Falcons, just keep it rolling. I know Drake London got hurt. Kyle Pitts had a dud this week, but I think it was just because they couldn't tackle Bijan Robinson to save their lives. So um I'm not really concerned about Atlanta's offense. I would say just keep them rolling, and if CD misses, maybe Rico Dowdle Ferguson, but I'm might be out on the Cowboys. What about you, Christian?
You know,
So I do have one question, and I'm not sure of his status. Elliott, what happened to Brandon Cooks? I know he's been out a couple of weeks. Is he expected to return at a certain point for the Cowboys? Because, before he was injured, he was the wide receiver too. Got
yeah.
injured. It's kind of in a mix between Tolbert and really just whoever else is serviceable. But you got any updates on maybe the rest of the options like Brandon Cooks?
Honestly, man, I haven't heard anything from Cooks. I'm not really sure. And I don't honestly, I don't know, man. I haven't really followed him that all that closely, so I can't say.
So last
What's
question
out
here,
there?
and I know this isn't really fantasy related, but do you think the Cowboys maybe trade for somebody at the trade deadline? They don't have much time, but do you think they make a move for a receiver?
I don't think they do. If they do, it's going to be somebody of not much, in my opinion, of not much value that's really going to shake the playing field. But honestly, I don't think we would. I think Jerry's more of a either let's try to figure out with the people we already have, or he'll get somebody that's just not going to really make much of a movement to the needle.
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't think they make a trade. I think Jerry Jones is just fine as long as his games sell out and his stadium sells out. I mean, just being honest, like this ain't
Yeah.
a Cowboy hater anymore. Like I don't think he's that type of owner.
Mm-mm.
And I remember a long time ago, I heard, do you remember the Bennett brothers, Marcellus Bennett?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
one who was the
Yeah.
defensive end. I can't remember which one it was.
I think Michael.
Oh yeah, Michael Bennett, maybe.
Fine. Yep.
He said that there's only about 8 organizations in the league who truly care about winning. The
Yeah.
rest are there to sell tickets. And he named some of the teams, and Dallas wasn't one of them. He said that's why continuously you kind of see the same teams competing or trying every year, making moves every year because they're the only ones who care about winning. And I just think Jerry
Mm-hmm.
Jones is in that boat. And I agree with Penn here. He says the Cowboys are done after next week. Um, I
Oh, yeah,
don't.
we play Philly. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, the way Hurts is playing now, if
Yeah.
AJ Brown is out, that may help. But
Yeah, but see Lamb to be out, so it's like that's kind of 1 for 1.
yeah, he's
So
out. Tatum says, "Do I keep Jamar? If I do, my receiver trio would be Nico, CD, and Jamar. Yeah, I don't know why you would
unless
not.
you're trying to get like a
Well,
running back, are you trying to
no,
get
no, no.
something?
I think the person's asking because they have Nico and they have CD. I think they're trying to understand what they want to move Jamar and try to get some other pieces.
Nah, I moved CD before I moved Jamar.
I don't know
I
about
hear
that.
you.
Jamar was a better quarterback.
I don't know about
No,
that.
I think I would move Jamar only because he has trade value. So even if CD comes back, which we hope he will, CD comes back, you would have two other or maybe one other serviceable receiver that you could also pair with him. Nico Collins, I mean, he's out for a while. So I think what they're trying to do is trying to figure out can they get maybe a 2-for-1, Jamar Chase and maybe a receiver and a maybe running back two. That's how I'm reading that question.
Do you think CD has trade value now? I still think he does.
Do you?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I mean he has a value. He's definitely a target hog. I think the person maybe a situation where they can only start 2 of them, and maybe it's 200 match receivers are tight end, like they may not have a flex spot, so they may have to get rid of one of them. And
but
maybe they think that Chase is the one to get rid of because he has to deal with T. Higgins whenever he's healthy, and then Chase Brown. Whereas CeeDee Lamb, they have to deal with that.
see, I actually think when T plays, it helps Jamar. It's the same
Maybe.
way I told you, Elliott, when Puka plays, it helps Cup. When Cup plays, it helps Puka.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's enough volume in the Bengals offense that they both can eat. And I think if they're both playing, you can't really double one. Like CD,
Mm-hmm.
what was his stat line today? Like 7, did he even have 100 yards? Like, it
No.
wasn't like he was open because teams have learned now, and we saw it firsthand. Double CD
Mm-hmm.
Lamb. Make him go somewhere else. And I just think if you don't have a viable wide receiver too, I mean, Jefferson is good either way, but when Jordan Addison plays, he's great. It's a good thing
Mm-hmm.
for DK Metcalf owners that JSN plays well. I just think
Yeah.
I would rather you get 5 for 102 than 7 for 50. Like if all you're doing is getting 3-yard hitch routes from Dak, like that's not really amounting to a whole lot. But I get your point. I just personally wouldn't trade Jamar Chase. He's the number one fantasy wide receiver, I think, currently.
I'd ask the person like, do you even have to trade him at all? Like, do you have to like is there a reason why you want to get rid of one of them?
Yeah.
I'd
Uh,
even
who's this? Tate. Oh, he said that his running backs are Kenneth Walker and DeAndre Swift. It's pretty good backs. Bears look bad today, but I don't think DeAndre Swift is bad.
Mhm.
Cowboys can't run the ball. Yep, that's
No.
true.
Mhm.
Breaking news. Um, Next game here on the slate, I got this is actually a good game from what I saw. Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Shout out to Jalen Waddle. He had a -4 passing yards, but he did score a touchdown. So shout out to him.
Wait,
Now,
what?
yep, the only reason I know this is because the last play, or I think one of the last plays of the game, I took the
Yeah.
under on Tua's passing yards. He was at
Mhm.
like 247 or something.
Mhm.
Well, I can't even remember what it was, but the last play of the game,
Oh, it was
and it
yeah,
was
they tried the
negative
backward lateral.
24 passing yards for
Mm.
Jalen Waddle that brought Tua back under and then
Mm.
Jalen Waddle stats. So, um,
Mm.
but what are your thoughts on? I think Devon Achane had a great game, 8 for 58 touchdown. Then he had 12 for 63 touchdown. What do you think about Tyreek? He had 5 targets today. He was 4 for 80. Obviously, he was drafted to be either the wide receiver one or a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
With Tyreek Hill, are you riding it out or are you looking to trade him?
What do you say?
Me personally, I would look to trade him.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a fan of Tyreek, but I would probably see what I can go and get for Tyreek.
I agree. The only problem is you got to be very creative is the wrong word, but you got to have to kind of have like some awareness. Like a dude that's good, but he's been struggling all year with Tua, without Tua. You can't go into the trade trying to get some elite dude. You can obviously you want to start high, have make them meet you in the middle, but like you got to realize you're not getting Tyreek. I mean Tyreek Hill quality trade like you would last year with him. So you have to kind of you got to be honest with yourself about what you can get. But yes, I would try to trade.
So I'm taking the other side of this only because if you have had Tyreek Hill on your team, obviously the season's gone up and down for you. If you've kept him this long, I think you have to roll with him. Only because you kept him on your roster. You've probably started him with Tua, without Tua, going through all the quarterback change. So I think at this point, he had what, 8 for 50? All right, he did have, and he honestly could have had a touchdown reception. Tua through the pass, led him more so towards the sideline. If he had just lobbed it a little bit further over his shoulder, he easily could have been a touchdown. So I think that could be a different story. If Tua maybe could have led him better. But like I said, if you've had him this long, I think you have to ride with him. So even if he has some really good games, some games where we'll call this a modest game, 8 for 50, that's what 13 points in some leagues. Um, I think you just have to keep rolling with him.
Maybe.
So
I mean, just,
with Tyreek, I'm trying to think of a good comp, um, or do a good name game. Now I'm not gonna say Cedric Tillman, even though he's had 3 straight good weeks. Um, would you do Tyreek for Terry McLaurin?
Would I do that? If
Yeah.
I had Tyreek Hill, yeah, I would do that.
Elliott, would you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you
So I
do it?
guess that would be somebody for anyone listening, if you're looking to trade Tyreek,
Why would you do it?
try to get Terry. Yeah, hell yeah. Um,
Hey, I know we talk about this person almost every week, but would you trade him for Brian Thomas Jr.?
no.
No.
Uh, would you?
I feel like that is probably the fringe of it could go either way. And so, I mean, with that, you're dependent upon Brian Thomas Jr., if he's scoring, but he's not going to put up the Tyreek Hill numbers of last year or the year before. But I think at this place right now, looking at both of them for their situations, I think I would rather have Brian Thomas Jr. over Tyreek. It could
So
go
I'm gonna
either way,
assume
but
I'm gonna assume your reason for saying no is because you just don't trust his quarterback. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't trust Trevor Lawrence whatsoever.
fair.
Uh,
Fair.
Next game here. Oh, do you guys want to say anything about the Bills? Josh Allen was negative at halftime, ended with 3 touchdowns. Um, I mean, I don't really have much to say about the Bills.
Yeah.
It's Josh Allen and James Cook, and that's about it that I would have
Hmm.
confidence in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think I posted to you guys, and I know y'all were at the game. I didn't quite understand why Amari Cooper was inactive today.
Yeah.
And if you think about, okay, if he's not starting, it's kind of the same story. Buffalo hasn't really had the receiving options. Keon Coleman, still first year, still growing, still going into the league. Shakir, I mean, he is what he is at this point. You're probably not going to start him on your fantasy team. He could maybe be a fringe flex depending on what week you're looking at, but
Yeah.
I don't think from a fantasy perspective there are many players on the Bills offense that you're gonna start. So obviously Josh Allen, James Cook. Occasionally you can say Dalton Kincaid. Just depends on what your tight end options look like, but
Yeah.
I mean,
that's really it.
Khalil Shakir he's just too up and down.
Yeah. Even Keon. Keon had a really good week. I'm sorry, had a really good last 2 weeks, but
He
today
got blasted today. Did you see that hit?
I did.
Mm-mm.
He
I
got
did.
wrecked.
Yeah.
And then Cooper,
But
I guess he's hurt
but
too.
it was an illegal hit. He led with his helmet and kind of couldn't tell
Mm.
if it like hit his arm or hit it, but he limped off the side.
Yeah.
He was out for a couple plays, but he got blasted.
DH says, who's the better flex rest of season? Deontay Johnson or Amari Cooper?
So again, we were at the game more, so I didn't see Jonathan Johnson play.
I think he had zero.
Okay, was he even active?
I don't know, but I think he had 0 points.
I think we got traded. I think he was. Somebody can correct us in the chat. I think he was inactive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm rocking with. You know what? I'm with Deontay Johnson. He has a proven quarterback. And okay, if Zay Flowers can have a career day, which man, I really wish Austin was here. Austin would have a great take
Yeah.
right about now. But I mean, we're looking at it. I mean, it's Zay Flowers and it's Rashad Bateman, and then occasionally you may have a pass to Justice Hill. I think Deontay Johnson fits in really well, where he can easily come into that offense. If you're a holder of him, it's not going to be the same expectations that he had with the Panthers, but I think he is going to be probably a startable flex player on a week to week basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really, honestly, I don't have an answer. I really can't tell you. But if you want me to give you an Amari Cooper case just to give it to you, I think the only case for Cooper is still in his prime. He's not out of it yet. He's a great route runner, one of the best ever. Josh Allen has shown with Stephon Diggs that he can make a number one receiver elite. This offense needs a good receiver. I mean, Keon Coleman to me is not ready to be that role yet. And Josh Allen has proven like he is a good quarterback to get you the ball. He will focus on you. He will target you. He will give you the targets you need. He's not afraid to pepper a number one receiver. And Cooper's the kind of guy that'll come in, work hard. He's not a diva. He's not going to be an issue. And even in Cleveland last year, when the quarterback was up and down, he still ate,
Yeah.
relatively frequently. So, like, honestly, man, I can't give you a confirmed answer, but if you want a case for Amari Cooper, that's the case. Like, he's still elite. He's still a great route runner, and Josh Allen has proven he'll give a number one receiver good target in games.
Yeah. Jake says prime Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver of all time.
Jerry Rice would like a word with you.
I've
All
said for a
time?
long time, Antonio Brown's the best wide receiver I've like seen. I mean, he doesn't have the 6 foot whatever, but like there was nothing he couldn't do. So I'm
Jerry
not,
Rice is still like to have a word with you.
huh?
Jerry Rice would still like to have a word with that person. So.
Also, too, I remember I saw some clips of Jerry Rice playing, and I was like,
He
these
made it look easy.
best
He made it
defenders.
look easy. He just like he didn't like he looked like he was no effort. He would just run past you, catch. Like he wasn't flash. He went out there and did his job.
And I don't know. Some of the clips, I'm like, this is the defenses he was going against. Like some of the corners, I don't know. It was just bad cornerback play. But
Yeah.
shout out to Jerry Rice. He's universally known as the GOAT. But I'm not.
Honestly, Randy Mouse have like a word too. And T.O.
I
Hey, T.O. don't get enough respect.
Yeah. D just
I'll
said
give you another one. Man, Calvin Johnson. What did he do that was wrong?
nothing. Play for
Played
Detroit.
in Detroit.
Play for
That's
Detroit.
what it was.
Um, I don't know. That's a good argument. I'm a prime AB fan, but that's just me being biased. So I can't argue with you. Uh, Jacob says, do you think Hurts and Evans for Kermit and Cup? I'm assuming Mahomes and Cup. Um, was a good trade.
Wait, say the first. Oh my God, that's funny. Say the first one again. You said
Jalen
Jalen
Hurts and
and
Mike Evans
Evans
for
from
Mahomes,
home, from Holmes and
Cooper Cup.
Hmm.
so Jalen is definitely over Mahomes. That's not even a question. It's just covers Evans. And honestly, I keep Jalen and Evans. But
I'm about to say Mahomes and
but
Cup.
that is good. That's good. That is a good one. I'll give you that's a good one.
No,
That's a good
I agree with
trade.
Elliott. I don't really want Patrick Mahomes. If he's on your fantasy team, and I think we've talked, in the last couple of weeks, he's going to get you maybe a max of maybe 20 points. If you just look at his totals on a week-to-week basis, it's like 12 points, 15 points, 14 points. I don't think you would trade Jalen Hurts for that. You can just rule the receivers out. You can just call it, even trade. I only saying that because Cooper Cup's coming back from injury. Mike Evans, he was really productive, got injured, so Baker has to throw it to somebody. But I'm not doing that trade.
Hunter Dobby says, do we have any buy low candidates? CeeDee Lamb. Um, I would think I can't remember what he had tonight, but maybe Aaron Jones. Um,
Mm, good luck getting them low.
Yeah, I don't think you would get him low right now.
Aaron Jones, you don't think so?
Mm. I mean, if I had Aaron Jones, I'd make you give up stuff. I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't give him low.
That's yeah, like you hard to trade with.
I know I'm not. I just don't take BS. I'm not on trade with.
So the average person, like, say if you're 4-4, like, and you got Aaron Jones,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's like, "Hey, I can give you somebody for Aaron Jones who's like flying high right now," who would you think is a buy low candidate?
You got to give it some names. I mean,
I mean, if not Aaron Jones, like, who do you think is a buy low candidate?
I was gonna say, maybe Mike Evans. That's somebody else is about looking at right now because he should be coming back soon, but he's hurt. So I try to get him now before he steps up. Uh, I was thinking, let's see, maybe Deontay Johnson. You don't know, we don't know what he's going to be yet, but I think if he's with Lamar, it'll be great. Chuba Hubbard, buy low. Um, Notice some that's off the top of my head that I would think. Honestly, Jordan Love.
Yeah, but I feel like he gets hurt every game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some of mine, and I know we are going to argue, and that's fun. Number one is ETN. So, and the reason I'm saying buy low, obviously we've seen what it looks like with Tank Bigsby, trying to lead the backfield or trying to take some of those routes. I still think coming out of a bye from this week, I think they regain, have a game plan. They rethink the position. They really rethink how they want to split the carries between the two. I'm going to say try to get ETN. That's just one I had. I think maybe some
Hey,
receivers.
from the same
But
team, Brian Thomas, from the same team.
yeah,
Maybe.
but I'm thinking about his value though. I mean, I'm not sure if it was. I feel like he's. I sound like Josh Pate. I feel like he's properly rated, where
Mm-hmm.
it's. I think you're gonna have a hard time trying to look at him and be like, oh, let me try to get him before other people do. You know.
Well, would
Maybe
you do Nick Chubb for ETN?
I was about to say Nick Chubb. Somebody you try to battle low. I was about to actually say him.
I think I'd rather have Nick Chubb.
Okay. Would you do Chase Brown for ETN?
Mm. In terms of if I get Chase Brown, yes.
No, if you get ETN.
No.
Christian?
I go back and forth. Okay, my gut reaction was no, but I also know, like looking at today's stat, Zach Moss did not play. So I think it kind of just depends. So I mean, you could look at it and say, really, they're kind of one for one because they both have either a split backfield or they have somebody taking carries from them.
Yeah,
I'm just
actually, for Chase Brown, for what it's worth, for Chase Brown did play against. I'm pretty sure the Raiders are like bottom like 3 in run defense. So for what it's worth, he did have like an ideal matchup too. And Jack Moss was out.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
I mean,
I'll give you a receiver. DeAndre Hopkins. He did okay with the Titans. I feel like he did exactly what you would have expected somebody from the Titans to do with the situation he was in. But now with him being traded to the Chiefs, man, they got to throw the ball to somebody. I mean, Kelsey, all right, they have him. Juju, he's out. Rasheed Rice, he's not coming back anytime soon. So I'm going to say buy low now because if he does take off, that could be somebody that really pays you dividends. Maybe it's a flex type relationship where you can start him in your flex every week. He's probably not be a wide receiver 1, may not be a wide receiver 2, but I would think he could at least get you 8 to 10 points just from that relationship that Patrick Mahomes has to pass the ball to somebody.
D says I need 10 to win. I have Harrison Butker. The other guy has no one. That's very possible.
that's possible.
That's
Yeah.
very possible you can win.
But you have to have probably at least one field goal be at least 40 or 50 yards.
Yeah.
It can't be just like 20-yard field goals. It got to be something.
And it can't just be extra points either.
Yeah.
Kyle says, should I trade Pitts for Ingram? I'd rather have Pitts.
You would have got this one.
Yeah.
I may rather have Ingram. I don't know. Because Jacksonville's down a lot of people. So, like, they got to throw to somebody.
Pitts, Warren is not like the quarterback, Elliott. You haven't learned. He hates the quarterback.
As you and me literally saw in person today, we literally watched it live. Atlanta's got enough people to where Pitts, if the game gets a certain way, Pitts is just like, it disappears. Not because he's bad, because like the game just goes against him.
I think that was a byproduct of how awful Dallas was and how they couldn't tackle Bijan. I mean, there were literally like plays Bijan had, they were like 8 or 9 yards. That really should have been like 1 or 2 yards. But he just broke tackles or juked somebody, and it was just they didn't need him. Honestly, they didn't need Drake London.
But you got to think, even the time when they did throw, it was Mooney and McLeod, and then London before he went out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd rather have Pitts. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, but I agree with you one about like the quarterback. Like quarterbacks can be an issue, but in fantasy, like sometimes it just happens when it happens.
Yeah, I think I would rather have Evan Ingram, and this is totally based off of last season because we haven't really had much to look on him from this season. And him coming back off of injury, he's been serviceable. He's had some good weeks so far, but if you think about earlier with our podcast days, we would talk about Kyle Pitts, and it was like, man, he is he's underwhelming. Should I drop him? Should I try to trade him? Get what I can? He really sucks in his role in the offense. So I think it's going to be hard to shake what you saw early in the season with Kyle Pitts and say, oh yeah, he's definitely turned a page. Last week his stat line was what 5 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 63 yards, something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you're not going to get that every week. Elliott, you're right. Watching, hey, you saw a great offense today on the field, and it was not Cowboys. Falcons have a lot of weapons. Mm-hmm. Even if they just want to run the ball, they have 2 backs where they can just run the ball. So I think you're better served going to Evan Ingram. He's shown that he can be a volume type tight end. So I think that's who I'll roll with here.
Also, to that point, again, you got to remember, fantasy football is a targets game, and it's stats. So, garbage time counts. Garbage time doesn't matter more, doesn't matter less. And Jacksonville, they may, when the season's all said and done, there's no way to track this stat, but they may be the garbage time kings of fantasy football when it's all said and done. I don't know.
Dallas may be the garbage time kings, but yeah, Jacksonville will be right there.
Yeah, he's right.
Giovanni says that he had Barkley, Joe Burrow, and Chase Brown. Blew his opponent out the water. I had Burrow and Chase, so I understand.
Hey,
Kyle says,
we love blowout wins.
Yeah. Kyle says the targets is the reason I lean towards Ingram over Pitts. Hey, I get it.
Yeah, I agree.
I just, like Christian said, I'm not a fan of Trevor Lawrence. Charlie says I need 19.05 points from Mahomes secure the number 1 seed in my 10-man going into week 10. Do you think I'm
Wow.
cooked? You must be undefeated to go ahead and secure that spot.
Yeah, you must be like y'all. You either have an early playoff start or you are undefeated. And everybody else is like eating each other up. I would
Um,
say that's possible because the Bucks defense is not all that. So I'd say that's possible.
it is possible. The only thing, I mean, and obviously, but the only thing that could screw you up is if someone gets tackled at the 2 and Kareem Hunt gets like 2
Yeah,
touchdowns away from Mahomes.
yeah.
But the Bucks defense is so bad, like Mahomes can easily get that.
And also, I
I
think the
don't.
Bucks offense is good enough to where like they should be able to do well against KC's defense to where the game didn't get out of hand. Mahomes has to kind of keep throwing.
So I'm going to say it doesn't happen, but Warren, you kind of hinted on it. I think the Chiefs are going to go towards a run-friendly game and just pound the clock. And so taking the ball
Yeah.
out of Mahomes' hands, letting him just hand it off, give it to Kareem Hunt, do some end arounds, give it to Xavier Worthy. That's what I think their offense is going to be tomorrow.
What do you think of looking at this next game? Patriots Titans. Actually wasn't the snooze fest I thought.
Mm.
Um
But
I
it's also not one that you really want to watch. Let's just be honest.
it's not. Tony Pollard, I said he would be a top 15 running back. It was a bold take at the beginning of the season. He had 128 yards. And I said, you don't pay a guy that much money to not use him. He had 28 carries. I think he had like 3 catches, but Calvin Ridley, are you turning the corner on Calvin Ridley to say he's startable? Yeah, 8 targets today, but there were 5 catches. And Mason Rudolph actually had a decent game. It was New
Mm-hmm.
England. He had 240 and 2 touchdowns, I think. Do you think Calvin Ridley is a startable fantasy wide receiver? Chris.
Elliot, I'm going to let you go first.
All right.
Again, you just said the word startable. You didn't say wide receiver. You just startable. Yeah,
Startable.
I mean, yeah, he's startable. I think Mason Rudolph is decent enough to give him the ball, and I think he's better than Will Levis. And I think Calvin really, it's kind of the same answer to Amari Cooper. I think he's talented enough. So look at me, Auburn fan, giving Bama a shout out,
Both with
Bama
Alabama.
receivers. I think he's good enough to get the ball. And actually, after that, kind of the meltdown he had was 3 weeks ago, where he had like like 1 catch or like some kind of weird stat he had like nothing. I
0
think they
rush. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they basically made a commitment to say, "Hey, we'll get you the ball. You are talented." And they did pay him too, just like they paid Pollard.
Yep.
So is he startable? I'd say yeah, he's startable. Now again, is he going to like lead your league in points? No, but is he startable? He'll get targets. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the gamble with Ridley. So sorry. Take the gamble with him, and I think he's at least a wide receiver 2 or a flex. Um, More into your question, is he startable? He is startable, but I feel like if you're going to start a Brian Thomas, why can't you start Calvin Ridley? They both have really crappy quarterback play.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
improved, but he's shown, hey, if you can get me the ball, I can do something with it. I can produce. He just needs the opportunity. So Elliot, I mean, you said exactly what I was going to say. His tirade 3 weeks ago, going off in the locker room of how do I not have any targets? How do I not have any catches in this game? Last week, he had a great week. This week, another good stat line. So maybe it's changed. I'm not saying you're going to roll with the Titans, but just looking at historical performance, the last couple of weeks lend towards you wanting to start him next week.
Yeah. I'm not gonna combat you guys. I mean he's startable. I hate it for you if he is somebody you have to start, but I don't mind you starting him. He's a wide receiver 1 now on the team. Especially now that Hopkins is gone, so I have no issues there.
Hey Warren, you say that. I mean, if you drafted Calvin Ridley, that means you probably drafted him somewhere. I'm not going to say where, somewhere between rounds 4 through, well, at least say 7, but I'm going to say probably 4 through 6.
I would think 5 through
I would
7.
have thought like 8 or 9 maybe.
Yeah, I would.
Ridley for a
9.
starting receiver?
Hell no, no. With Will Levis as quarterback, absolutely not.
I'm gonna need to go back and look at our league and see what he got. If he even got that to win, I have to go back and look.
I'm gonna gander and say he was probably a fifth or a sixth round pick in most of our leagues. Because I mean, you got to think. I mean, just think of receivers and running backs who's out there. He's probably the 60th to at least the 75th best player. If you're in a 12-man league, that's round 5 or at least round 6.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. New England, I don't really care to talk about anybody from there. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson had a good game, but if he hadn't scored that last touchdown, I mean, it'd have been average, but I don't want to start anybody from New England unless you guys want to talk about somebody from New England.
not really. I thought Drake May had a really incredible pass to send the game to overtime.
Yeah.
I mean that was obviously that's probably gonna be the highlight that people see is that him trying to evade and then finally throwing it. But
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next game. You know what? I'm gonna skip this Bears game for a second. I want to go to the Rams Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Reason I want to go there is Puka Nakua. Anybody who had Puka, he got you 2 points. Me and Elliott had him as well. Christian too. And he throws a punch and gets ejected. Are we still a believer in the Rams offense? And how would you rank Puka and Cup rest of season? Who would you rather have?
I don't think the punch was horrible. Because I didn't see the punch live. We were driving back, and I know we had red zone going in the car.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the punch. And I saw the replay of the punch just a few minutes ago on NFL Network game day coverage.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a weak, like, get off me kind of thing. but same time, dude, you can't do that. Like, at the same time, like, bro, you can't do that. Come on now. I don't think the punch from a fantasy standpoint changes anything about my thoughts on Puka and Cup. I think they can play together. I think they're still great. I think, as a matter of fact, I think the offense actually struggled after he went out.
They did.
And I think that's proof that they definitely need Puka. So really, the punch is frustrating. And I'm gonna try not to go on a rant, but like, these are the kind of things. I think I said this one week where everybody was on. I was like, look, this is the thing about fantasy football that just kind of is what it is like, you can't beat yourself up or really get too mad when you lose, because at the end of the day, if you started Puka Nakua like I did, like all three of us did on this phone or on this meeting, like, I can't control that it happened. There's nothing I could have done to stop that punch from being thrown. And after the punch was thrown, there's nothing I could have done to fix my lineup to put somebody else in like it's done. So if anything, I want to say is like, this should be evidence that, like, when it comes to fantasy football, give yourself grace, give yourself a break. Don't take it too seriously. It's a fun thing. Let's have fun. Let's not try to let this be the end of the world. It is what it is. However, nothing to me changes
But who
because
would you
that happened.
rest of the
I,
season?
I personally would have Puka because I think he's just younger and fresher. But honestly, like, I feel like that's one of those things that's going to change week to week. Like, 1 week, they're just going to have both have good different weeks. So honestly, that's a coin flip answer in my opinion. But I'd say Puka because that's who I have.
Christian?
So I do want to correct something. Elliott, Elliott did not mean it when he said we were watching it when we were driving back. That's safety first. It was not. He didn't mean that. But no, I
listening to
agree.
it.
Yeah, listening to it. There you go. I actually agree with Elliott's take wholeheartedly. I would rather have Puka. Puka is going to be the more so volume receiver for them. And so me, the dummy, who did not start Puka last week, made a video and we posted to our TikTok, and I said, don't start him. He's not ready. He's going to be on a snap count. And Sean McVay said, F it. Let's just put him out there. And he had a good game. So yeah, I would say even despite this game, I'm a little frustrated that, I got like 1.5 points, but it's a long season. He is now back. He is decently healthy. And so for the longest, if you've held on to Puka this long, you've been just wanting him to get out there and get healthy. Well, he's decently healthy, and so just ride with him. If you have him, definitely start him. I wouldn't see any kind of expectations change, but more to answer your question, I'd rather have Puka over Cooper Cup at this point.
I have Puka and Cup in 2 leagues. I'm gonna start them both the rest of the season. I disagree. I would rather have Cooper Cup. I think he will probably get more touchdowns than Puka, just because I think in the red zone, the way Sean McVay schemes, I think Puka is kind of the downfield big play guy, but Cooper Cup is obviously the underneath, and I think he's the preferred red zone target. Also, I think I could be wrong, but I do think Stafford probably has more trust in Cooper Cup than Puka. And that's no knock.
That I do think is true. I think that's definitely true.
I'm not saying Puka's going to be trash. I still think Puka's going to be a wide receiver one. But if I had to pick one, I would probably go Cooper Cup.
And honestly, I don't really see this being a wrong answer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of fine whichever way you go.
Yeah. Next game, the one I skipped, Arizona and Chicago. Now, Christian, I told Elliott when we were on the way back, I said the Cardinals had 29 points and Kyler Murray didn't score not one touchdown.
Yeah, I was telling Ellie about that. Kyler Murray had 4 points fantasy wise. 4 points.
Yep.
Hey, but do you know what came out last week?
Call of Duty? Did it come out?
Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
hey, I'm just gonna read it. So yeah, Kyler Murray, in this league, he had 4.7 points. He had 156 yards passing.
Yeah.
He had 6 rushing yards.
Yep.
And he had a fumble.
Yep.
So
he got sacked 3 times.
Yeah, which is they won. Wasn't because of him.
So I will say.
Go ahead.
Finish. I was gonna
say with Kyler. I mean, at this point, and we've asked this on a week-to-week basis. Is he worth starting? I started him, and I'm gonna lose. And I'm just looking at the other quarterbacks on this roster. I had Geno Smith. I did not start him. I started Kyler. Geno
was kind of.
No, 363, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. 22,
oh, I'm sorry. He made a lot of bad decisions, but he was good fantasy-wise.
Sure. Drake May, okay. 206 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, almost 16 points. Yeah, Kyler, I don't really know. I'm holding on to Kyler, and I'm saying this for other people as well. I'm holding on to Kyler because he has the upside of he can run. But, man, they've just been off between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. and
well, let me ask you this question.
It's tough to continually start him and rely on him on a week-to-week basis in terms of just fantasy.
Let me ask you this question. Rest of the season, what about these 4 people? So Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Geno Smith, Matt Stafford. Where would you rank him in those 4? Mahomes, Murray, Stafford, Geno.
No, hang on. Are we talking about play or just fantasy performance?
Fantasy. I feel like he's kind of in the Mahomes conversation of like, I don't know, like what.
I think
he's kind of in that group.
Out of those 4.
I'll be honest, my number one.
I honestly can see that. I feel like he kind of is.
My number one right now is, it's a toss between Geno and Matthew Stafford.
I would rank them Stafford, Mahomes, Geno, Kyler.
Kyler is definitely 4. I would say Mahomes 3 only because it's not that he's bad. It's just, he's going to get you about 15 points.
One thing about Geno is like once DK comes back and now that JSN is like really kind of showing himself, that may be a reason to put him over Mahomes. Yeah. But I think Mahomes is just better. And I think sometimes if you're just better, that kind of does translate to your fantasy performance. So like it's kind of tough.
Amanda says someone dropped Chuba Hubbard, Oklahoma State great Chuba Hubbard. In my league, should I drop Kareem Hunt for him? I'm new to fantasy and don't know much.
I wouldn't drop Hunt for him, but I would pick him up.
Yeah, I would try to get him, but I'd keep Hunt.
Now, if Hunt is your worst player by chance, I still don't think I would drop Kareem Hunt for him.
So I don't know who she is, but hey, welcome to fantasy. It's frustrating, but it's fun.
Oh,
If you had like,
she says I have Brian Robinson too. Man, I don't know if I drop Robinson.
I wouldn't drop him either. I
Yeah,
would say if you
Amanda, who's on your bench?
if you have a bench or if you're in a flex league, just get him. There's
Right.
got to be somebody on your bench is worse.
Now, if you're asking me if you had to pick between the two, I would probably take Chuba over Brian Robinson, but I would try not. She just said I got Brees Hall too.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Mm.
Um,
Hey, if you have a bench spot, I promise you got to start on that bench that you can just put him on there.
yeah, I
It
would
doesn't
look
hurt.
if this is a receiver I could drop. Now don't come out here and say you got Jefferson and Chase.
And
Uh,
Nico.
but I would say if out of the four running backs you named, Brees Hall, Brian Robinson, Chuba,
Hunt,
and Kareem
Hunt.
Hunt, I would probably put Brian Robinson last. Wait, she said she got Drake London, Tyreek Hill, and Neighbors. Damn, those some good receivers too.
Hey, hey, for your
A
first time
league
in
is
fantasy. Wait,
big.
hold on. Your first time in fantasy?
That's
Are you playing in a 16 league? What is
I don't know
this?
about that.
You look good for your first time?
But realistically, I would probably, man,
Damn.
drop a defense. Like I don't know. But if you were gonna drop somebody, I'd probably drop probably Brian Robinson if you had to get to. I mean, if you wanted to.
See,
Should
Brian
we
Robinson has a lot of competition.
He
should we
does.
invite her on the podcast?
Huh?
Would that should we invite her on the podcast with that roster?
I yeah.
I mean,
Amanda, if you want to send us a DM and let us know if you with that team. But yeah,
Austin, we can kick him. You know, Austin's team's like one and eight.
Austin's no, he's gonna be 2-7 now. He's gonna
Oh,
be
okay.
yeah.
Honestly, the way the Cowboys playing, boot me out, kick me off.
But honestly, if you just really wanted Chuba, I'd probably book Brian Robinson a hotel on waivers. Christian, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's. I'm not dropping Kareem Hunt. I'm also not going
I'm
to drop
dropping
any.
Brees Hall.
I'm not dropping Brees Hall.
I'm
I'm not
dropping.
dropping any of the receivers. So yeah, it has to be Brian. Brian Robinson
Yeah,
has to be.
yeah.
Man, I mean, can he? Golly, can he trade somebody?
Would you? Oh, she said, "Thank you. You're welcome." Um, if you could trade somebody, I feel like her only trade piece would be Brees.
Yeah,
Maybe Kareem Hunt. Maybe she could trade Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
maybe get a quarterback. Maybe.
Maybe. But
The thing about Brian Robinson is like because of his quarterback, he's always going to be have some great open lanes. It's just he's got a lot of competition. He's got Eckler, and I don't remember the guy's name, but there's another guy
Chris
that came in.
Rodriguez, Jeremy
He
McNichols.
they were both good today, or Nichols I don't know about today, but they both been good. So like he's got a lot of people to fight with.
Oh, bruh, she just said Kamara is her other starting running back. She said, "Ain't no way I'm dropping him."
Hey, just leave Chubbard. Just you don't need him. You good.
Drop
You don't need
Robinson.
Chubbard. You fine.
Go
You
get
don't need him.
Chuba.
You fine. You fine. You're so good with the team you got.
Yeah, drop
Do you also
Robinson.
have you also have Jefferson on the bench? Like,
But
fuck.
Hey,
what she, I
hang
think
on, hang on. So who do y'all think was her first round pick?
it had
Had
been
to be.
Tyreek Hill.
Probably Tyreek, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
probably
I
Tyreek.
had to, so here's my thing. She
Well,
also
no, probably Brees Hall, being Tyreek.
maybe unless she traded for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But I would say, damn, she said she 2-5.
Oh,
What?
Who was your
hey. That's fantasy. That's
look?
fantasy for you. That's
Quarterback
fantasy
might have
football.
been Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
Uh,
is your quarterback?
oh, she said Josh Allen. Oh my God, bro.
Okay, this must be like the 4 team league with everybody else got stacked teams. That's got to be what it is.
I don't know. That's tough. Some fishy going on. I don't
Yeah,
know.
something right there.
Fantasy guys hate you.
Mm,
Yeah, she said her first round pick was Tyreek.
okay.
I don't know how Brees made it to your second pick, but
Yeah,
she might
I
be
don't know
trying
what's
to
going
play
on.
defense. Like she don't want nobody else to pick up Chuba. So I don't know.
Mm.
Oh, she said there's only 5 of us. It's all our first year.
That I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes
That
sense.
makes sense. Yeah, I'll probably drop Brian Robinson for Chuba. And next year, Amanda, if you still in here, try and join the 10-team league. It's
Yeah,
probably a bit
a
more
little
fun.
tougher. A little tougher.
Um, going back to Kyler Murray. I don't think he actually played that bad. I mean, they even had a drive where Marvin Harrison Jr. fumbled.
Yeah.
All back to Chicago. I just think it was one of those things where, and I told Elliott when we were driving, I said, Elliott, James Conner is killing Chicago on the ground. I mean,
Mhm.
every carry. And then DeMarcado came in, and I think they were just trying to run the ball out at halftime, and
Yeah.
he 50 yards for a touchdown. So, like, uh, Kyler didn't have to do much, but he is inconsistent in fantasy. So,
Mhm.
nah, I wouldn't trust him that much.
Oh, I had another take from that game, and here's the thing: I'm going to lose in that league, like without a doubt. Like, there's no hope at all that I come back.
Yeah,
But I do have to pat myself on the back on a decision I made in that game. Throughout the whole week, I had the Bears defense scheduled to start them, and at the last minute, I swapped the Bears defense out for the Cardinals defense, who went off today.
he did. Yep.
So, and
And
you know what maybe made that decision? Because Caleb Williams be doing all this crap right here and he literally did this play right here and got sacked by 5 times doing this.
bro.
I ain't in college anymore, man.
Not.
All right. Last game here I'm probably gonna talk about is Chargers Browns. Jameis Winston beat me last week in my 2 QB league. Then he comes back and he goes
And
for 235, a touchdown, 3
3
interceptions.
picks.
My
Probably was sacked a
takeaway
lot too.
is Cedric Tillman. I made a video about waiver wire pickups 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said pick up Cedric Tillman.
Mhm.
Um, it still holds true. I think he is a valuable fantasy starter rest of the season. Pending, they don't make any moves or they don't bring somebody else in. I
Yeah.
think he is legit the wide receiver one on that team.
Mhm.
Uh, and I don't see with Jameis at quarterback and no more Deshaun Watson, I see Tillman as a fantasy starter the rest of the season.
And no more Amari Cooper.
And no more Amari Cooper. Well, no more
Really,
Amari
the only
Um,
other receiving option they have is Judy.
yeah. And I don't know what he
I
even.
mean, he's just a guy. So
Yeah. He's gonna say it himself.
Yeah. That's my take on Cleveland. Now the Chargers, I was pumping the hype band for Lad McConkey last week. Chris, I don't even know who I bet was. Uh Appreciate the gifts, Amanda. Really appreciate it.
it
Um
was, I think it was Pickens and McConkey,
Pickens
right?
McConkey. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Pickens, they had a bye week this week,
Well,
right?
yeah, they're about week's fame play.
Oh man, I can't remember who it was.
I don't either.
I think it may have
Oh,
been
oh, oh,
Pickens.
oh, oh, oh! I do know. It was Amari Cooper, and yeah, it was Amari Cooper and McConkey.
I
Well,
won.
I mean, you won, but he was inactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, let me ask you this. Had Cooper played, do you think he would have had 11.4 fantasy points?
No, and I even looked at McConkey stats at halftime. I think he had like 6 points, which for me, McConkey was in my flex.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And
He
so
was
if he's
5 for
going,
64. He led the team in targets with 7.
really?
Yep.
Okay.
5 for
That
64.
so him leading the team in target shocks me because I also saw Quentin Johnson's stat line. Yeah, it kind of shocks
Yeah.
me. But forward, I'm still gonna say he's a flex player, but I think he receivers that are out there. I
Okay.
feel like,
What about McConkey or Ridley?
are you looking for reliability? You're looking for the big stat lines.
Just reliability, or both.
Reliability, I'm gonna go with McConkey. If you want the huge stat line of man, this player could easily have 20 points or he could have 4, I would say Ridley. But just for consistency, I'm still gonna say McConkey.
I would say McConkey. I think he has the better quarterback. I think he is the wide receiver one for the Chargers.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I would go with McConkey. Um, Now, I just think it was kind of a slow, I don't want to say defensive game, but I think the Chargers knew they could beat Cleveland without airing,
Yeah.
without risking mistakes.
That's the thing about McConkey that kind of gets me is like I love Jim Harbaugh and I love Justin Herbert. I'm a big Herbert guy. Always I am. Even when he's been kind of up and down, I just feel like with Harbaugh, his mentality is, oh, we're up 10. All right, hand it off. We're good.
He does what he did in Michigan. It's the boa constrictor like
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
He
Which
just
I'm fine with that game plan, but that's makes it kind of frustrating from a fantasy
yeah,
perspective to trust their players.
yeah,
Unless it's J.K. Dobbins.
yeah.
Yeah, hey, before we move off, I at least want to read the stat line because if we talk about just our conversation and just think about us being on the podcast week one all the way to now, somebody that we talked about was Quentin Johnson. Can't trust him. Last season he didn't do well. He had a ton of drops.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read his stat line today. He had 4 for 118 and a touchdown. He had in this league he had 20 points. Last week he still had a really decently or a really good game depending on how you want to look at it. But I feel like of late he has really started to come on. And so if you have him, I feel like you have to at least entertain. Maybe he's a flex. Maybe he is a low grade wide receiver too. But I mean, as y'all said, I mean, just looking at the Chargers offense, I feel like there's enough volume for him and McConkey to at least be serviceable. Now, again, 4 catches, just on this, on ESPN, it doesn't say how many targets. But I mean, for him to have 20 points, sorry, I didn't say it. He was targeted 5 times. He had 4 catches. I feel like he's only proven now that, okay, he's not just he's going to have drops every single week. I think you can trust him in your lineups.
Okay. Oh, before I get to this last game, Build a Bunker says I have Kareem Hunt and I play Cade Otton. I'm up 0.27 points. I should win, right? If it's a PPR league, I don't know if that's tough.
Yeah.
Cade Otton could have a good game. You would probably need Kareem Hunt to score twice, or at least have like 80 yards and a touchdown.
Or get some catches, not just be running only get some catches. Because the thing about Otten is like he's clearly the receiver one right now, but he's also going against one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah.
Who if I saw what K-Don did last week, they saw it. So like they're gonna think about it, and they know if I know that Evans and Godwin are out, Steve Spagnuolo knows they're out. So like, I don't know, man.
Build a Bunker says I can switch in Worthy though for Kareem Hunt. Hell no.
No.
Don't do that, man.
No. No. Now
You have like
for a long ball.
2 catches for like 15 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I actually want to go back to the Chargers Browns game. Because we were out today, so I didn't get to like be in the Louise and a lot of stuff. What was Chubb's stats? I know he was doing stuff, but what were his like?
I think he had 30 yards rushing. I don't know if he had a catch though.
And did any other running back get much? Or was it pretty much him only?
No, it was pretty much him. He had 15 carries for 39 yards and 1 catch for -4.
Honestly, like now, I think that -4 is funny, but like I think that's a positive sign because even with his knee injury, he came back off. The Browns are showing they're committed to him. So, hey, we talked about buy lows earlier. Hey, maybe he's one you can buy low. I don't know. I don't know if anybody would take it, but hey,
he might buy low and stay low.
I was gonna say Jerome Ford. He had 5 yards. He had 2 receiving yards. He had 1 catch. And so Elliott, maybe he has a buy low. I don't know. When you say buy low, I don't really know what you would trade to get him.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So are you thinking? Right. I mean, I was gonna ask. Are you thinking like he's a wide receiver 2 trade option there, or is he still like a flex player that you would trade to possibly get?
I would say flex or wide receiver 2. I don't think you should try to give up like your wide receiver 1 or running back 1 or tight end 1, but he's definitely flex level, wide receiver 2 level. And I'd be interested to see like as the season gets into like the fantasy playoffs, like what kind of performances he has. Because you got to think, I know we're not there yet, but kind of thinking ahead to the fantasy playoffs, you got to think during that stretch of the season, it's what a lot of players are trying to confirm, like contract incentives. They're trying to meet those incentives. A lot of teams have already made playoffs, not made playoffs. You got to think a lot of players in the playoffs are going off that you never expect. Like I remember, you probably all both of y'all probably remember this. I think it was the year that Blake Bortles was like 2017, where like from the playoff period, like week like 13 to 17, he was like the number one quarterback, like in that stretch. But nobody would have thought that. So I think, I mean, I don't know, Chubb, he may be a candidate because by the time it gets to week 14, that knee may be feeling better and he may start, and it'll be cold. He may start getting a lot. I don't know. That's just something to think
My
about.
hesitation is because the Browns aren't going to be contenders,
They may shut him down.
why would you play Chubb like that, especially when it's cold? Like coming off
I
that.
mean, he may just do it just to, but see, I honestly, I don't know that would be a problem unless Chubb gets hurt and it starts acting up. Unless he gets hurt, I don't see why they would do that. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. Chubb may be a quote unquote buy low. You said, maybe a RB2 flex.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a little name game.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have Chubb or DeAndre Swift?
Oh, DeAndre Swift.
Swift.
All right, Chubb or James Conner?
Connor.
James Conner.
Chubb or Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones.
That one I don't know.
I'd probably say Aaron
I'd
Jones.
probably say Aaron Jones.
The better offense.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have Nick Chubb or Najee Harris?
I'm gonna say Chubb on that one.
I'm gonna say
I think Harris to me. I thought I've been burned by him too much.
Who'd you say,
yeah.
Christian?
I'm gonna say Najee. More than I know how much you like Najee, just based on last couple of years. I'm joking. Yeah, I'm gonna say Najee, but I will say, looking at his last couple of weeks, I think you can say he's starting to improve in that offense.
He is.
And so now with Wilson under the helm, maybe it looks different. So I'm gonna still trust Najee for right now.
Okay, so there weren't a lot of Chubb picks there outside of your last one, Elliott over Najee. So when you say who could you try to trade for him, the only person that came to my mind was ETN. Would you take Chubb or ETN rest of the year? Christian?
Chubb. I mean, also you got to think there's wide receiver options too. I mean, it's not only running back. I think those running back options you named are all like good ones. They're not like lower ones.
But they were like RB2s, is what I was trying to say.
Hey, I'll give you one. Rico Dowdle or Nick Chubb?
Oh, Chubb.
Chubb.
Okay.
Just because I don't really trust Dallas. Now, Dowdle has been good. Especially, he gets a couple of catches, but I'd probably go Chubb.
I take Chubb over Bucky Irvin.
Yeah.
Personally.
Ryan says Najee Harris, the running back that's been more consistent with Russ rather than Chubb with Winston. Yeah, I would have picked Harris.
I think that. Yeah. Hey, let me add this here. So I know you say he's been more consistent with Jameis. Also, he's coming back off an injury. So there's no preseason. Yes, he's going to practice. Yes, he's going to rehab. He's going to PT for everything, but he didn't have a breaking period for preseason. So he's still getting acclimated. He's still getting up to speed with the offense. It's going to take a while. You see some of these players who don't play any in the preseason. It may take 3 or 4 weeks until they're back in, we'll say, game speed, game shape. Still going to take them a little bit of time to get it back into the offense.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that I still think he's a buy low candidate, but we'll see.
Yeah. Last game here, Sunday night game, Colts Vikings. I thought from the Vikings, it went pretty much like I thought. Jefferson 137. Hawkinson was coming back off injury. He had 3 for 27. I think he'll get better. Addison 5 for 42.
He took a big hit.
Yeah, he did.
It was a big hit. It was a big slam.
Yeah.
It was a big slam.
As far as the Colts, I just think Minnesota defense played well today. Flacco, he did what he was supposed to do for downs. He had 6 for 60. even though I was 20 yards off on Prize Picks.
Mhm.
But the player I wanted to talk about here, and Jonathan Taylor, he had a tough day versus Minnesota defense, but I'm not concerned about him. The player I wanted to talk about was Michael
Michael Pittman.
Pittman.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, Down is to me the clear number one when Flacco plays. He had 9 targets. Pittman had 4, and he had 1 catch for 14. Is Pittman startable, Christian?
I started him in one of my leagues. So I watched the game, or watched the first half with Elliott and his roommate Rajiv. And so Elliott said, "Hey man, is Michael Pittman active?" And I said, "Oh, there he is. There's number 11." And then as soon as we said it, it's like, "Oh wow, he had a target." And then that was when they said he has been targeted twice. He has 1 catch.
Yeah.
I don't know. And similar to what you just said, I don't know if it's just he hasn't built the chemistry yet with Flacco. And, right now he's been throwing to Alec Pierce. He's been throwing to Josh Downs.
AD Mitchell.
AD Mitchell, yeah. And there's other people he's been passing to. But you would think, hey, your number one guy is going to be Michael Pittman. So I'm going to say, hang on. I'm going to say until we see what Flacco does on offense more and more, probably don't trust Michael Pittman. If you can, maybe start somebody else. If you can't, maybe move him to your flex. But I would say for right now, let's just sit, have him and wait and see, keep him on your roster and see what happens.
Ryan says just give it time because Flacco might be the starter the rest of the season. Yeah, I mean I get it. Maybe they'll build chemistry, but you can't really start him right now. You can bench him.
Yeah.
Who is this?
And honestly, hey, let me add one more thing. At this point right now, not from fantasy perspective, but just looking at the team, they have an opportunity. We'll call it that. They're what, 4-5? Man,
Yeah,
they can be one of the last teams to get into the wild card.
Yeah.
So let's not count them out. If they go on a run, maybe 3 of the next 4 games, if they have wins,
especially if Houston struggles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and Houston plays the Lions next week.
Yeah.
That might be a loss. That might be a loss.
Ryan says R.I.P. Chris Olave. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Oh, that was so rough. I'm actually glad I didn't see that.
Yeah. Anthony says I'm up 12 and he has Kelsey and a kicker. I'm so cooked. Probably. I would think you're gonna lose that. Hayden says Kyron Williams and Malik Neighbors for Bijan and Garrett Wilson.
Say it again.
Kyron and Neighbors.
Okay.
Bijan and Wilson. I would probably
do Bijan and Wilson. Bijan, well,
that's actually not a bad trade.
That's actually kind of even.
Yeah.
I feel like you would just keep. I probably just keep what you have. I don't know. I can't. I'm not trying to say. I don't know your league.
Running back
for
wide receiver, running back and wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, just keep what you have. Unless there's something you're trying to. I mean, I'm not really seeing. I'm not really seeing much. I mean, Bijan is probably, but Kyle Williams is maybe one of the more steady fantasy running backs. So they're kind of equal,
except for today. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you said Neighbors and
Kyron.
No, Neighbors and Wilson.
Oh, they're both the wide receivers.
Yeah, like they're both like, I mean, I know Neighbors didn't really have a great game today. I think second half he may have done some. First half he wasn't playing well, but
he had 0 at half, I think, if I remember.
I feel like that's kind of even.
I would probably lean towards keeping Kyron and Neighbors, even though Bijan is tempting. Who would you say, Christian?
I think I would just keep what I have, especially with Bijan. We've talked in the last couple of weeks of is it Bijan? Is it going to be Algier? I think I maybe take away some of the carries there. What does the offense look like? Bijan's doing fine. Especially today, last couple of weeks, he's been fine. But I think I'm still going to go with Kyron Williams. I'd rather have him, knowing he's probably going to score every game. This week's a little off, but I think I'm going to keep Kyron Williams at least for that upside
there. Ryan,
if you did the trade, it's fine. I just don't.
Bijan is becoming more consistent, 100 plus rushing and receiving against them Cowgirls. But that was just sucks. Um, who's this? Build a bunker said, should I hold CD or trade? I probably hold CD for
Yeah.
now.
Well, you gotta see if he's hurt. Well,
Yeah,
if he is hurt, obviously ain't nobody gonna take him. So
yeah.
honestly, just keep him.
I probably hold
I
CD.
mean, I mean,
Ryan says, what about Jalen Waddle? He got you positive fantasy points. But I will say, if you were a follower of the podcast, I was out on Jalen Waddle like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Even when Tua was out, I was like, the only Dolphin actually I probably want is Achan and probably Tyreek. Even when Tua comes back, I don't think Waddle is he's good, but he's not the number one. It's Tyreek, and he's really injury prone. And I was out on Waddle weeks ago. What do you guys think?
yeah, I think the season for Waddle is just like, I mean, when Tua was out, like his value, like he did nothing. Like there was nothing when Tua was not there. I mean, you can say something about Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill at least like still getting, he still got like a game with something. Waddle, I mean, there was nothing there.
Yeah. Christian, what do you think about Waddle?
Yeah, I thought Waddle had a decent game. He did have a touchdown reception. Um, just looking at how his teammates responded to him when he finally caught a pass, I really, I mean, seriously, I really thought he was going to have a better game than he had today. But I still think, looking at the rest of the season, I still think he can be a mid-level wide receiver too. Still, it's going to run through Tyreek Hill. It's going to run through Devon Achan, but I'm not going to say drop Waddle. I think I would still ride with him if he's on your roster.
I'm out on Waddle. So I mean, Christian had some good points. Elliott had some good points.
Yeah.
Me, I'm out on Jalen Waddle. I'm sorry. When I feel like I have to sit there and wonder if my receiver is gonna get targets, like there's a difference in you got Malik Neighbors and you're like at halftime he's got zero and you're like, man, like what the heck is going on? If Waddle has zero targets at halftime, are you that surprised? Or zero catches? Like, are you that surprised? Um, but I don't know, that's just my take. Um, but I appreciate everybody following, appreciate everybody commenting. Um, we'll try to get on this week, Monday or Tuesday, if you guys are available. If not, I'll probably go solo. But try and
Hey,
get on.
Well,
Tuesday may be a little political, man. We
yeah,
may.
Tuesday maybe a little rough.
Yeah. Hey, we could do
Well,
a
Tuesday may be rough. It's gonna be like busy because I'm saying I'm an election nerd, so my TV gonna be on. Like if there was a red zone for election coverage, I'd have every channel up, just looking at all of them. I'm a political
Elliott's
junkie.
gonna have like a map in his office and just be painting it blue.
you know what? We
I
could
would
do
if I could.
a show. I might do
Honestly, I would not be opposed.
Tuesday. We know what? I'll do an election show that night.
Hey, I'll join you. Let me know. I'll join you.
We'll do it. Get everybody's opinions, but appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being here. We will see you guys now. We have a date for Tuesday, and appreciate you guys showing up. I hope you guys have a good night, and we can go back to our actual lives and actual jobs when people said they didn't know that we work.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah, yeah.
appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.